Hi, again, this is Steve Gladys from Steve Gladys Leadership Partners here at George Mason University's Mason Enterprise Center. We've been talking about, in this series, about bulletproof leadership. You recall we talked about questions, not answers, make leaders more bulletproof, more protected from the difficult decisions they have to make. Emotional and social intelligence will beat IQ every time. Communication is really important, so we tell people to communicate, and that trust. Having people trust you is really vital, and for that you need character, competence, and caring. The last thing I want to talk about is change. We live in a hyperactive, changing world today. Because of the level of technology that's going on, just think of how many apps, for example, have been added to your phone, and even in the past year. Think of all the new things that have come out, that come out every year. Think about Moore's Law, the idea that technology changes every so, in a very periodic sense, and that periodic sense is actually getting shorter and shorter. I want to talk about change today within the person, and then within how that changes in the organizations. Maslow came up with a thing called the hierarchy of needs, where he said you had to have certain physiological and then safety things met, and then certain belonging needs met, and then finally some sort of self-actualization. You couldn't really get to the higher end stuff unless you took care of the lower end stuff. There's a guy named Herzberg, who's also a psychologist, who looked at Maslow's work and broke it down into sort of two levels. One which he called hygiene, or what we'll call satisfaction level. He said that people at work, he was talking about people at work, people who at work needed certain things stabilized, like for example they needed stable pay, they needed a certain level of pay, they needed benefits, they needed certain working conditions, they needed certain office space, they needed certain things at work which were kind of extrinsic, that means around them, sort of extrinsic, that would give them a nice basis to move forward with. And then once they had those needs met, they could then move forward to more motivation or having intrinsic needs met. What Herzberg said was, if you just gave people more money and more extrinsic stuff, you really wouldn't motivate them to do great things. You wouldn't motivate them to change. So a lot of times that's a real problem. People get sort of given more and more money and less and less of the things they want, which is autonomy, things like autonomy and mastery and doing stuff on their own that they like to do. That's where we find motivation, the motivation to change, when people are left to independently do what they do best. Ask people, what do you like to do best, and let them do what they do best as often as you possibly can. That's where we see the greatest amount of change. So satisfaction first, motivation second. When it comes to people, teams, and enterprises, moving from this creativity to change to innovation, it's an extension of that. Creativity is really about having the creative idea. Innovation is about monetizing that idea. That's the basic difference. Innovation is coming up with the idea. Innovation is about monetizing that idea, systematizing it, making it actually happen. Everybody's got great ideas, and it's a question of how you actually monetize that, where it makes some value, has some great value for society. People, teams, and enterprises are engaged in this whole process, but those people, teams, and enterprises have to be satisfied. Each one of these people, teams, and enterprises have to be satisfied at their various levels in the organization, and they have to be motivated. This is the sort of the final segment of our Bulletproof Leadership segment. We hope that you'll pass this whole section on to people, this whole series. We think it's valuable for any new leader to understand these. We hope that you'll pass it on, and we hope that you enjoy it. This has been Steve Gladys at Steve Gladys Leadership Partners at George Mason University's Enterprise Center. Thanks, and have a great day.